Some of you fine folks have asked me about my voiceover processing chain. When I'm making these videos, how am I recording my voice and how do I get it to sound good? So I'll walk you through that today. It's a pretty simple setup. I wanted to show you what really matters in the setup and what's going on. It's not crazy expensive, but what let you in on what is going on in the chain. My microphone, the preamp, the interface, and the processing that I'm using, and what I really think is the biggest factor in it sounding good. And I'll let you know, it's not my voice inherently. I think it's going to be something that's surprising to you. So let's jump right in. First up in the signal path, the Kel Audio HM2D. This is the microphone that you've heard on every single video of mine. It was $200, and the reason why I say was is that it's a Canadian company that has since gone under. I also have their HM7U microphones. I've had this one about 10 years now, and it's been great. It's marketed as a earthy or warmer condenser versus something that might be real hyped in the top end. I am probably about a foot away from it, and it sits on my desk in this little boom arm, and this is it. Without my chair here, this is how my recording setup sits. So I've got my monitor here in front of me. These are my viewing monitor, and then my studio monitors are the head Type 7s. I have loved those as well. This Fostex is just here for demonstration purposes for another video, my Evo interface. But my main interface on my desk is the Analog Audio Zen Tour. This is the first generation one. I've had it about 7 or 8 years now. And I've got a Stream Deck right here to help me punch things up in OBS when I'm recording. And that's the setup. You may say, how come you have this big giant studio desk with nothing fun in it? Stuff is coming one day. We'll hope. The most exciting thing you can see is my tax return that I'm getting ready over here in the center. Is just a power conditioner with some switches. So I'll get some fun toys eventually, but I just needed a desk to work on first. So that's there. So it's the HM2D into the Analog Audio Zen Tour with 40 dB of gain. And I will say the biggest thing that's had impact, other than, it's a solid mic into a solid chain, is the room itself. As you can see here, what I mean, I've got a lot of sound panels. They're everywhere. They're on the ceiling, they're on the walls, they're in front of me, they're on the back wall here. So this is now looking at the rear wall. And they, in my opinion, probably have the biggest impact on the sound right now, because most microphones are going to sound decent enough, right? As long as you're not buying junk. And this is eliminating all the reflections that are happening. So this gives me a nice, tight, compact sound. Again, the microphone's a foot and a half, so I'm not right up on it, but it still sounds really nice and tight. So I'd say this is what I'm getting right first. And then the processing we're going to talk about in just a minute is just the cherry on top. I can't show you it right now because OBS would get weird, but I actually host all of my processing in OBS as I'm recording, which is cool. So I don't have to do any post work. So it's all recording through the plugins into the video file. Then I upload it to my video editing software and away we go. But I do want to show you the chain here in Reaper as it would look. And then at the end, you're going to hear before and after of the processing. And honestly, it's kind of underwhelming. It's not a huge change, but it's just enough to help things be at the right level and not clip and so on. So anyway, here is the first thing we got. It is the RX9 mouth declick. Sensitivity is on 4, so that helps take out some of the lip smacks that occur when recording voice. So nothing really crazy here. Next, we have the RX Voice D9. I've brought down the reduction to about 8 dB and put it on gentle. And this takes care of any air handling noise, or you've probably heard my crazy kids screaming in the background. I got 3 of them now. So it just helps take care of that. So I'm not worrying about ambient noise all that much. Again, it's really nice and tight in here anyway, but it just helps really, really make it nice and quiet in the recording and not distracting for you fine folks. Next in the chain is Soothe 2. If you don't know this plugin and you are a studio person, I highly, highly recommend it. It's from a company called Oak Sound. It's basically a resonance suppressor. So I'm going to play this file. We're not going to hear it, but you can kind of see in action. I have this curve over here. I guess the middle is the 0 dB mark. And I can say, hey, pay more attention to frequencies here and start to suppress them versus others. So as I play this audio file, you can see some gain reduction happening. It's almost like a really, really smart dynamic EQ that's able to help suppress what's going on. So you're not hearing my voice live, but it is mainly focusing on that 3K region is where I see it. So kind of that bitey forward stuff to relax it a little bit. So to make my voice nice and relaxing to listen to. They also have a look at 500 for this mid-range build-up stuff in my voice. So that's what's going on there. And also we'll play it with voice denoise so you can see. So yeah, this was just a recording of my voice earlier that you'll hear in a minute. It's going to be me butchering the Two Roads Diverged, a Yellow Wood poem by Robert Frost. But it's just dynamically suppressing some of the noise in the background. I've had the AC running the whole time, or at least the heat, meaning you can't hear a thing, which is great. Lastly, we'll move on to Ozone 9. And this is one of the more classic processors are an EQ compressor and limiter. Pretty simple. So this is on my voice, a high pass filter, a dip at 300. Let's see, that's about 5 dB. Another little dip close to 3K, and then a high shelf. So take care of some of the zippy stuff up top. So that's what's happening there with EQ. Next, we move on dynamics. This is just a compressor. 3-to-1 ratio, 3 millisecond attack, so pretty fast to help contain things. Just kind of keeping things in check. Nothing crazy here. I try to speak at pretty even levels anyway when I'm recording, but that just helps that. And lastly, I have to get it to a nice hot level, so I use the maximizer from Ozone. So from Isotopes within the Ozone package. The IRC1 algorithm, because it uses less CPU than the others, because I'm hosting it live in OBS. I don't want my computer to catch on fire. So I'm increasing the level by 14 dB. And right now I was level matching it while I bounced it out earlier. So the ceiling is here at -8. I put the ceiling at -1 and then make sure nothing clips. So even if I brought down the threshold another 6 dB, you can see it's hitting the limiter now. Right here on the right, it's not going over, not going to 0. Sorry, the meter was calibrated to RMS with plus 14 at the top. So we a 1 dB difference is plus 13. It's not going to go over that. I could crank it out even more. Let's give it 30 dB of gain. And it's just crushing on the limiter, but it's, saying none shall pass. Even here, it's not clipping. So that's the beautiful thing about a limiter in the digital domain. It's going to do its job and make sure nothing clips. You're not hearing any distortion. And that is it. So to recap that processing chain, it's mouth declick, voice denoise, soothe, and then we got an EQ, a compressor, and a limiter. Again, bottom line, the biggest thing going on here is it's a nice, quiet room, not a lot of reflections, and I'm able to get a good sound of it that way. Last thing I wanted you to hear is an A-B between the unprocessed and processed version of my voice. So again, here's me butchering that poem, and I'll catch you later. Two roads diverge in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both. A B1 traveler, long I stood, and looked down one as far as I could, to where it bent in the undergrowth. Then took the other as just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear, though as for that the passing there had worn them really about the same. Anyway, quick and dirty, just wanted to show you my vocal chain, because folks have asked about it. Appreciate you watching. Catch you next time.